The number one step we will take to launch a great American manufacturing renaissance will be to end Kamala Harris's war on American energy. It's a war. And you do know that inflation was caused by her cutback on energy. And then what they did is they, in a panic move, shortly thereafter, when the numbers for gasoline, oil, and electricity and everything else that comes from energy and out of energy, when they started going through the roof, they immediately went back to the Trump plan. But what they didn't go back to is my plan would have been doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled from the numbers I had 4 years ago. They didn't do that. They brought it back to a similar, because they were getting just absolutely destroyed by the numbers that was going up. And you can bet that if we don't win, she takes over, your energy numbers will be triple and quadruple, and you won't be producing a drop of oil. They ended the largest oil reserve anywhere in the world, probably as large as Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has this massive amount of oil. It's called Anwar in Alaska. They ended it on close to day one. They ended it. Ronald Reagan couldn't get it. No other president got it. I got it. And it's bigger than Russia, bigger than Saudi Arabia, most likely. They seem to think biggest in the world. They've been after getting that approved for many, many decades. Ronald Reagan worked so hard to get it, he couldn't get it. I got it. And then they ended it. They were just set to start drilling. Everything was done. And he came into office. He ended it. On day one, I will tell the frackers and energy workers of Pennsylvania to drill, baby, drill. And she's totally a non-fracker, you know that. Until a few months ago, she said, oh, it's just like on tips. We're not going to tax tips. All of a sudden, she comes out and she says the same thing, exactly the same words that I used months later, and other things. She's like trying to copy my policy, but it takes much more than copying a policy because they're never going to produce it anyway. Our country's going to be in serious trouble. But she was a non-fracker, no fracking under any circumstance. She's like 100 times saying, I will not frack. Look at her debates. There will be no fracking, will be no. Then a few months ago, she said, we'd love to frack. You know, with a politician, they go back to their original thought. There will be no fracking if she's elected in Pennsylvania or anywhere else. You'll have energy that will go up 3, 4, 5 times. You'll be paying $10 a gallon for gasoline and a lot higher than that. Unleashing American energy will reduce prices, launch record-setting economic growth, create millions and millions of jobs, and produce higher wages for the American worker. You can't be a manufacturing powerhouse unless you have low-cost energy. We will have low-cost energy. Electricity rates for a Chinese factory are more than 50% lower than the price of electricity for an American factory. And we were working 4 years ago at really getting it along, and then we were hit with the COVID came in. We focused on that. We did a great job. If we didn't do a great job on that, we would have been in a depression like in 1929, which is where you're heading if she gets in. You're heading for the depression of 1929, that type. That's called the Big League Depression. Since Kamala took office, electricity prices in America up much more than 30% nationwide. And here in Pennsylvania, they're expected to increase by another 30%. They think it's going to be actually unsustainable for your state if she gets in. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for the country. That's why I've declared that a top priority for my administration will be to cut the cost of energy in half within the first 12 months of taking office. So we'll cut it in half. I think we'll be able to do better than that. We're going to be cutting it in half, guys. That'll help you a little bit, won't it? And I think we'll do that very quickly. That includes heating, air conditioning, electricity, and gasoline. Your bills will be less than half. When you look at the New England area, they pay some of the highest energy anywhere in the world because they can't put a pipeline in. They've been restricted from putting a pipeline in through a certain section of New York that is desperately wanting it. They need the job so badly. And if they did that in New England, the prices would come down half just with the pipeline alone. They were getting their gasoline and their energy from a place called Russia. Ships would pull up on the East Coast, Russian ships, and that's where New England got it from, and they were paying a big price. And to this day, they're paying the highest prices. But we'll take care of that. We think energy costs, all of it, air conditioning, heating, all of it, including gasoline, will drop by more than 50% within the first 12 months. So remember that. That includes for factories. This will help us quickly defeat inflation and make America affordable again. By contrast, Kamala Harris wants to ban fracking. She supports a national carbon tax, which is a horrible tax that will destroy many businesses, that will have a huge impact on this business, but that will destroy a carbon tax. Nobody even knows what it is. Nobody knows how to calculate it. And she imposed a natural gas export ban, all catastrophic things for Pennsylvania. That means all the income coming in, for the most part, you'll have none of it. You'll lose 500,000 jobs, and you won't have the income coming up. That means Pennsylvania is going to have to pay. Your Commonwealth, your beautiful Commonwealth, is going to have to pay numbers that nobody ever thought even possible or worth discussion. Kamala is also on a regulatory jihad to shut down power plants all across America. Now, Germany tried it just a couple of years ago, and they ended up getting rid of their political leaders very quickly, and now they're building probably 50 or 60 power plants currently, and they're looking to build a lot more. But they got rid of everything, and they wanted to go to wind and solar and lots of other things. Unfortunately, it didn't work. They couldn't fire up the plants. The plants were closed, and they couldn't get them going. And now they've gone to the other extreme. They've gone back to fossil fuel. I hope clean fossil fuel, clean coal. They do have clean coal. They have coal that actually has to make your electricity. And if you didn't have fossil fuel, you wouldn't have electricity, because that's where it comes from originally. And you can have very clean and efficient natural gas. At least 50 existing power plants have closed since she took office, Kamala took office. They're closing them all over the country. They're closing nuclear. They're closing coal. They're closing everything. We're not going to have, that's why in California you have blackouts all the time, constant blackouts, and yet they want to go to all electric cars. Let's go to all electric cars, even though we don't have enough electricity to give ourselves some cool and some heat in the summers and the winters. I'm announcing today that when I return to the White House, I will end the anti-American energy crusade and terminate Kamala's so-called power plant rule. It's a disaster for our country. Our country will have no jobs by the time these communists and Marxists get rid of, when they destroy the country, probably can never come back either, just so you understand. Too much competition from other countries that are doing it right. We have a lot of competition out there. Not only China, we have a lot of other competition. Instead of shutting down power plants, we will open dozens and dozens more, and they'll happen fast. Kamala stands for energy disappearance and factory obliteration. She will obliterate factories like this. I stand for American energy independence and manufacturing dominance. We're going to be dominant in manufacturing. We're going to be dominant in energy, too, not just getting it to take care of ourselves. We're going to be selling it all over the world. We're going to be reducing our debt. We're going to be lowering your taxes still further. Don't forget, I gave you the largest tax cut in history. We're going to be lowering your taxes still further. Upon taking office, I will do rapid approvals for new energy infrastructure, and we will embrace all forms of energy, including nuclear. Nuclear is a great energy. This plant is making some things that I just got to see, and it's incredible what you've done, what Gary and the family have done. The level of complexity, the level of detail, the power that we're talking about is incredible. To power our country into the future, including the electricity demands of AI and cryptocurrencies, which is a very big subject. It's coming up more and more, and we have to stay at the top. We want to be right at the forefront. Otherwise, China and other countries will take it over. That's both of them, AI and crypto. We will make a historic commitment to bring in advanced, small, modular nuclear reactors online, building these massive plants that cost $20 billion and don't even get built like we had recently in a couple of other states. I won't mention the states, but they had 2 plants that got so out of control with cost overruns, massive, massive nuclear plants. Now we're going to do small reactors, small nuclear, we call it. France does that. France does very well with that. They do small, and if they need more, they build a second one, a third one, a fourth one. They hook them up together. With the help of companies like yours, these can be built ultra safe. They're ultra clean, and they're very low cost, but they are absolutely safe. Under Kamala's Green New Scam, billions and billions of taxpayer dollars are being sent to subsidize solar panel factories, windmill factories, battery production, and car production, all based in China. We are subsidizing massive amounts of product for solar, for wind. It's all made in China. Under the Trump administration, we will build American, buy American, and hire American. That's what we're going to be doing.